Welcome, exam candidates. Let's dive right into today's explainer. If you're studying financial statement analysis, you already know that activity ratios can sometimes feel like a massive, tangled web of formulas. Well, today we're going to take the stress completely out of one of the absolute most important metrics you'll face: days sales outstanding. We're going to master this together, step by step. And by the end of this, you won't just be blindly memorizing a formula. You'll understand exactly what it's telling you about a company's efficiency and their credit policy.
So here is our game plan to get you totally exam ready. 1. What is DSO? 2. The magic DSO formula. 3. Interpreting your DSO results. 4. Scenario, falling collection periods. And finally, 5. Exam traps and memory tips.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1. What is DSO? The basics of receivables efficiency.
Now, whether your exam prompt calls it days sales outstanding or the average collection period, please don't panic. They are exactly the same thing. This metric simply measures the average number of days it takes a business to actually collect a receivable. In plain English, after a company makes a sale on credit, how many days literally tick by on the calendar before that cash actually hits their bank account? It's just a pure measure of collection efficiency.
Moving right along to Section 2, the magic DSO formula. Breaking down the math.
The math here is actually incredibly straightforward. You literally just take the number of days and divide it by your accounts receivable turnover. That's the whole formula. Just keep in mind that this ratio pulls information from both the income statement and the balance sheet over a specific period of time. So you calculate your turnover first, and then you divide the days in your period by that turnover number. But hold on a second, because that top number, the days, has a bit of a catch to it. You really need to pay close attention to the exam prompt here, because this is exactly where a lot of candidates lose super easy points. The top number, your numerator, isn't always going to be 365. It changes based on what the question explicitly specifies. The exam might use 365 days for standard full calendar year, but they frequently use 360 days just to make the math simpler for you if you're working without a calculator. Or they might even specify 300 days, which represents only the active business days in a year. So the absolute crucial point here is to read carefully and plug in the exact number of days the examiners hand you. Okay, Section 3. Interpreting your DSO results. What the numbers actually mean. So doing the math is only half the battle, right? You also have to know how to interpret it for your credit policy analysis. If you calculate a lower collection period, well, that generally implies that customers are paying their accounts promptly. The business is basically converting its non-cash assets into cash really quickly. But on the flip side, a higher number means customers are taking much longer to pay, and that means the company's cash is just sitting there, tied up in receivables for a longer period of time, which really isn't ideal for their overall liquidity.
But wait, here is the absolute crucial step. You must always compare that final DSO number to the firm's specific credit terms. Why? Well, because a number all by itself completely lacks context. Think about it. If your days sales outstanding is 40 days, is that good or bad? Well, if the company's credit policy requires payment in 30 days, an average of 40 days means your customers are paying late. But if the credit terms are 60 days, then 40 days means those customers are actually paying early. You have to compare it to the benchmark to truly judge if customers are paying on time.
Let's see this in action. Section 4, Scenario, Falling Collection Periods, Putting it into Practice. Let's look at a mini scenario straight from the kinds of things you'll see in your study materials. We are comparing a prior year to the current year. The number of days, our numerator, is staying a constant 365. Now, pay attention to the accounts receivable turnover. It increases from 12.7 times in the prior year up to 15.3 times in the current year. Because that denominator increased while the numerator stayed exactly the same, look at what mathematically happens to our average collection period. It drops from 28.7 days down to 23.9 days. So, put your analyst hat on for a second. Why exactly did those days drop? Well, a drop in days like this is a really fantastic sign. It's telling us the company is likely improving its collection practices. Maybe their billing department is following up way faster, or perhaps they're offering new early payment discounts. It also heavily implies that the company is just getting much better at assessing the actual creditworthiness of its customers before extending credit in the first place. And of course, better customers mean faster payments. Finally, Section 5, Exam Traps and Memory Tips. Securing your points.
Let's shift into survival mode for a minute. Do not let test day stress make you fall for these classic traps. First up, candidates constantly confuse days sales outstanding with the actual accounts receivable turnover ratio itself. Remember, turnover is the denominator in our equation. DSO is the final result, measured in days. Second, people frequently reverse the formula under pressure, dividing turnover by days. No way. Always remember, days go on top. And third, just like we talked about, failing to compare your final answer to the company's official credit policy. Giving an answer without that context is a total trap.
To help you out, I want you to basically burn this rule into your brain. Turnover and days are inverse measures. Because turnover is the denominator in our fraction, a faster turnover mathematically guarantees fewer days outstanding. If a company turns its receivables over more frequently, it naturally takes fewer days to collect. Up goes turnover, down go the days. It's simple, and it's absolutely foolproof.
I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to ponder for your broader financial analysis. Keeping your days outstanding incredibly low is undeniably great for cash flow and liquidity, for sure. But at what point does a hyper-strict credit policy actually start choking your sales growth? If you're forcing everyone to pay in 10 days, while your biggest competitor allows 45 days, who is the customer going to buy from? It's really all about finding that perfect balance between operational efficiency and market competitiveness. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Definitely keep these concepts fresh in your mind as you study, and best of luck on your exams.